All right, so let's get started with Xcode. From the beginning, we're going to create a new project. We're going to make sure we're on iOS, make sure we have an app, hit next. We're going to give it a name. I'm going to call this weather app. Make sure your org identifier matches your name, and then make sure you're on SwiftUI, and all this stuff should say none. We're going to pick where to save it. I'm going to just pick my desktop, and this makes a folder that is your entire project. Okay, so this lives in a folder. My folder is called weather app right here on my desktop. All right, so as this starts up, it's going to preview our app over here on the right-hand side. Sometimes this thing is like super glitchy and I have to like pick some different iPhones. Like I just pick like iPhone Dynamic Island. Sometimes that fixes it, sometimes it doesn't. It can take some time to also generate. If you don't want this view over here, you can always click this little guy right here and switch it to just show editor only. And if you want to switch it back, you can say canvas. Okay, that opens that up. So we'll do show editor only. I don't care about this sidebar over here either, so I can just click this right here and it'll hide and show that sidebar. And later when we start using AI, we can hide and show the little AI coding intelligence view over here. So I've got just my code running right here. It's saving all the time. If you ever need to make a new project, you can always go up to the top of your screen and click File, New, and then New Project to get that started. On a Mac, green maximizes this minuses, like it hides it down in your toolbar, and the X makes it go away, right? Again, it's saving all the time. You don't have to worry about saving. So looking at this, remember these lines are comments, meaning we can just write anything. As long as our line starts with a // we can write whatever we like, and we can also delete that. It doesn't, this does not get read by the computer, basically. So this is great if we want to give ourselves notes or reminders. So for example, I'm going to remind myself that this content view struct right here, this is the main thing that gets shown to the user. Okay, so that's what is down below here. All of this gets shown to the user. Remember that everything in SwiftUI is part of this structure system where we have this struct right here. This is the content view. This is what's displayed on the screen. And then below that we have this preview, which this is just what's showing in the preview. You're not really going to mess with this for now. You can kind of ignore it. In fact, I'll just give a bunch of extra spaces to sort of push it out of my view. Let's go ahead and open up the canvas just so we see it. And make sure that we're looking at some content. Again, sometimes this thing is really glitchy, at least on my computer. But there's our canvas. I can shrink this down, expand it, etc. It also crashes a lot, so just keep that in mind. If you're doing a lot of coding, I might recommend turning off that canvas, coding a bunch, and then turning it back on. All right, so right now we've got the content view, and this content view starts here and goes all the way to here. I can tell because it lines up, this curly brace and this S on the struct line up. So everything contained from this curly brace to this curly brace is part of that main content view, meaning it's what's being shown on the screen, okay? Then inside that, we have the body of the view right here. And that body of the view, again, it runs from this one to this one. Notice whenever I click, it highlights in yellow the adjoining, the closing curly brace. So this is the opening curly brace, and this is the closing curly brace. See how it highlights it in yellow? Now within that view, we have a vertical stack of items. So remember this says, hey, everything from here to here is going to be stacked vertically together. If that was an H stack, they'd be stacked horizontally. Just to show you that, I'll switch this to H. So that H stack, and again, sometimes it takes time to update. You can switch back and forth between these two options. There we go. So now they're stacked horizontally. And the two items that we have is we have an image and we have a piece of text. Okay, so that image is a globe. It's this little image of the globe. And that piece of text says hello world. And then these dot properties are modifiers, right? Those are modifying the image. So whatever they're directly below, that's what they're modifying. In this case, the image is being modified to have a larger scale, to be bigger. And it's modified to have a foreground style of this blue tint that's being applied to it. Okay, let's go ahead and delete all that content for now. I'm going to switch this back to a VStack. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building our basic weather app. Okay, so remember we want to have some pieces of text. That first piece of text, I'm going to just turn off this canvas for now because I don't really need it. that first piece of text is going to be a text object. So see, I have the word text with a capital T, followed by parentheses, and then the content, the data goes into those parentheses. And in this case, it's going to be like Monday. Then I'm going to have a text object that has the temperature, so we'll say 78 degrees. Then we're going to have an image object, and that image object is going to be some sort of image that tells us the conditions. In this case, we'll do like sunny. So we can type in system name, colon, and then in parentheses, we'll do sun dot max. Okay. So that system name, notice it has a lowercase s and a capital N. We call that camel case. So sometimes you'll just hear me say, yeah, it's in camel case. Means the first letter is lowercase, and then after that, each word has a capital letter. So image, system name, sun max. So that's saying like go make an image, and the image is going to be of the SF symbols, right? The built-in icons that we have, and this one's going to be called sun.max. You can go look these up on Figma. Remember we had that file that had all those different icons in it. Okay, let's open up our canvas and just see where we're at right now. Cool. Great. This is a good start. Now what we want to do is we want to make a bunch of copies of this, right? We're going to be making like a whole bunch of these that are going to be for each different day of the week. But it's going to be really tedious to do that over and over and over again. And we want to be able to dynamically pass some different data, pieces of data here, such as like some different temperatures or different conditions, things like that. Okay. So to do that, we're going to build a new structure. And that new structure is going to be called, I'm going to call that like weather card. Okay, view. And then underneath that, we're going to have var body, some view, and then have another adjoining one. So this is how we declare a new structure. And remember, just like our content view, right, the thing that shows, this is what shows stuff to our viewer, this weather card is like a reusable thing that we can plug up here. Okay, so right now we have this like VStack that has this text in it and all this other stuff. We want to basically replicate that in our weather card so we can reuse it over and over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of that. I'm going to do Command X on Mac or Windows X on Windows, and then Windows V or Command V to paste it down here. Alternatively, I could write that out. And notice it disappears from the view. That's because, remember, this content view, the thing called content view, this is where the main stuff gets shown. And right now, there's nothing being shown here, right? To prove that to you, I could go text and say main view here, okay? And you'll see that that's where our main view is, main view here. So this weather card is like a structure that we are modifying that we're then going to reuse up here in our content view. Okay, so we're going to be reusing this weather card over and over again. To show you how that works, all I have to do is I can just say weather card, followed by open parentheses and close parentheses. In fact, it'll autofill for us. It'll kind of learn. But just by saying that up here, look, it popped in all that data. So here's my weather card down here. I'm instantiating it. I'm placing it in my view up here. And it becomes very easy to just like make a bunch of these weather cards and replicate them over and over again, right? Just do another weather card, for example, and pop it up here, and I'll have two going. So I'm going to keep going just because this thing keeps crashing, so I'll just let that do its thing. So let's actually define this weather card a little bit more. So right now it has this hard-coded text of Monday and 78 degrees and the sun being max. But that's not always what we want, right? We don't want every weather item in our list to be Monday. We want it to be the different days of the week. So what we can do is we can pass arguments. That's what we call the stuff that we type in here. We can pass arguments through this weather card to then display the date right here. So the way we do that is we need to declare what's called a new constant. So we use the word let. And we're going to say let, and we'll call it like day name, colon, and it's going to be of the type string. So remember, a string is just like a word or a piece of text. So this is like, we could call this anything. I happen to call it day name. You could call it whatever you like. And what we're going to do is it's asking us to like pass a piece of data through here that we can then use down here. So in this case, we're going to pass the name of the week that we care about through this and display it down here. So let's take Monday, and instead of the word Monday, let's put in // day name. Okay. And what that's going to do is that's going to oops, yeah, I spelled it correctly. Yeah, that's going to pass the day name through this function into this structure and display it right here. Okay, so this is now saying, hey, you're missing an argument for the parameter day name. You can hit apply. It tries to fix it. So it's asking for a string right here, and I can type in Monday. So what that means is now it's taking this piece of data, this Monday, passing it through here, it's called day name, and then displaying it down here. To show you that, see, it says Monday. And if I was to change this one up here to Tuesday, it would change it to Tuesday. Now, why is this useful? Because now, whenever I declare this function, I can easily pass a bunch of different pieces of information to it. Right? So now I can have one that says Monday, one that says Tuesday, but they're the same formatting. And what's great is rather than me having to go through and manually change every single one of these, I could actually, like if I ever in the future decide, well, you know, I actually don't like this font or oh, I want this to be here, instead of having to change it in 100 different places, I can just change it once. So I can put like dot, for example, like maybe we'll do dot bold. We'll bold that text. And now it's bolded, right? It updates, takes a second, now it's bolded. So it changes all instances of that. So we're just passing that data through here, and it changes all those instances. I'm going to delete that for now. Let's do this temperature as well. So we'll say let temperature, maybe we do temp value or something like that. It's also going to be a string because it's a piece of text. And in this case, we're going to get some errors. It's going to say, hey, we're missing that temp value. So whenever we declare things up here, whenever we create these constants, this one called day name and this one called temp value, every time we instantiate a weather card, we make a new weather card, we have to add all of those parameters. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of how this works. If I clear all these out and I type in weather card, look, it automatically starts filling in with this one right here. I can hit enter, and it lets me hop between these strings really easily. So I can type in quote Monday, and then if I hit tab on my keyboard, it'll jump to the next one, and we'll do 80 degrees. So that should give me one that says Monday, 80 degrees. Again, sometimes my thing kind of breaks, so I have to refresh it. Let's wait for it to refresh. Right now it's not doing anything because it still says 78 degrees, even though I typed in 80 up here. Because down here, I'm never using that temp value. That temp value is just sitting up here. I need to apply it down here, just like we did with day name. So instead of 78 degrees, let's put slash temp value. So that slash temp value is now taking whatever values typed in up here and applying it down here. So here, let's make another weather card. If I type in, again, weather card, and I can hit enter. This one's going to be Tuesday, and we'll do 90 degrees. So now I have Monday 80 degrees, Tuesday 90 degrees. Super simple. Again, we're just taking that temp value, passing it down here, and then displaying it right here. This backslash with parentheses, this is how we display pieces of data. And those are dynamic pieces of data that might change. So this weather card, like this data might change over time, right? Over time, this temp value might go up or down based on the day, like based on the time of day. And so we can pull in that dynamic data and place it right here. All right, lastly, let's get this image set up where it's sun max. So right now, what I really care about is it going to be raining or not? Okay, is it going to be raining or not? For now, I'm going to delete these two weather cards, by the way. I'll just leave that blank. So let's make a new type of constant. This one's going to be called isRaining, and it's going to be equal to a bool or a boolean. That's short for boolean. So a string is a type of data that happens to be a word, right? We've been using strings here. They're red colored by default. A bool is a true or false statement. So it can either be true or false. And in this case, it's like, is it raining? True. Well, then it's raining and I want to display a cloud. Is it raining? False. I want to display sun. So what we're going to do is we're going to write what's called an if statement. I'm going to give myself some space to write that. And this if statement is going to say if isRaining is true, then we're going to display a cloud because it is raining. And if isRaining is false, we're going to display a sun. So we're going to do this. We're going to do if isRaining. And I actually don't even need to type in like equals true like you do in other languages. I can just put like this, if isRaining, and it checks by default, is that true? Then I follow that with a curly brace and I hit return. So if, I'm just going to put some spacing here just so it's easy to read. Whoops. if is raining is true, then execute the code that's between these two things. In this case, we want to do image system name cloud dot. Let's just do cloud. Okay. Then we can write else image system name sun dot max. So if it's raining, display a cloud. If otherwise, display a sun. Okay, that's what we've just set up here. I'm going to just clean up my code a little bit. This if statement is our first type of conditional. So these are just displaying pieces of data. This is a conditional where it's saying, hey, display this image or display this image based on that Boolean that's passed to us. So let's go ahead and instantiate our weather card, meaning let's plug in our weather card here. I'm going to start typing in weather card, and it autofills this one that has all those properties, and I'll hit enter. Now what's the day name? See how it's blue? That means I'm typing in that right now. I'm going to do it's Monday. The temp value, I hit tab to jump to the next one, or you can click the next one. The temp value is going to be 78 degrees. And is it raining? I'll put false. Now notice this false isn't in quotes. That's important. A string is in quotes, but a Boolean is not. It's just true or false. So because it's not raining, we see a sun. Let's go ahead and do another weather card. This one's going to be Tuesday. Temp value will do 50 degrees. And is raining will do true. And let's make sure that that works. So that second one should appear, and we've got a cloud. So sun, cloud, true, false. This is the best, like we've got it all set up. And in fact, now what we can do is go ahead and get our other weather cards in. Let's do Wednesday. We'll do 80 degrees, false. And let's do one more. We'll do Thursday. 45 degrees, true. Okay. So we're going to have 4 in here, and we've got those pieces of data working. Now we need to customize it and make it actually, look half decent. So I probably want the day name to be pretty large, so I can do dot font, and we can do, I think it's like font dot large title. Let's see if that works. There we go. So that made them quite big. Notice the font is capitalized here. Remember, the dot is modifying whatever it's directly below. So in this case, let's do, we could do the same. I could hit tab and just do exactly the same, make that really large. I probably don't want it quite that big. So maybe I'll just do, I think it's dot title is like a little bit smaller. Let's find out. Yeah, that's a little smaller. And then let's make the cloud blue. So we're going to do, it's going to be called, what is it? It's like front, no, it's dot foreground style color dot blue. Notice the C in color is capitalized there. And then this one will do dot foreground style color dot yellow. We'll make the sun yellow. These are really small. We'll talk about how to scale them up later. But we've got the basics of like a really good system going here. So we've got these 4 things. And remember, the value of this is I can edit these at any time, and I don't have to mess with this stuff up here. I can make changes down here, and it'll be reflected really quickly and easily. So that's the basics of how we do that weather card. Hopefully that all made sense. I'm going to add some comments here. So this will be called like weather card, how it, or weather card structure here displays the weather. Okay. And I could add some other things. Again, I could add a comment that might help you. Like, this is the day of the week. This is the temperature. This is the raining, true or false. Okay. And again, you could add more. But yeah, let's call that good. That's the basics of how to set this up.